Welcome to Film and Page. I'm Dominic. So I went for my third viewing of Dune last week, and I got to say it got better with the third viewing. And there's a few things that kind of I didn't really catch on to, even in the first two viewings that I did in the second one that I wanted to talk about. And I already did a full review of Dune, but there's just so much about the movie that just one review just wasn't enough. And that one already ran like a half hour, but it just didn't seem like it was long enough for me to get everything out that I wanted to say about the movie. So right off the bat, some of the things that I'm really happy about with the film is the design. So one thing is the Thopters in this version of Dune are, you don't really get a sense of how they are just from pictures, but they look really cool in action on screen. And that's something I was really pleased with. They're far superior to the Thopters you've seen in the David Lynch and in the 2000 miniseries. They look really cool. They're the coolest Thopters on screen so far. I mean, I think in the David Lynch one, it was a kind of weird little boxy looking thing. They didn't look very good in that one. And they looked a bit better in the 2000 series. But this one is a lot more what I think the Thopters look like in the book, with the wings and all that, and how they were illustrated in those John Schooner paintings and things like that. So really pleased with the Thopters in this. And upon watching it again, I have to say I really like the Sardaukar in this version. Now this is kind of flipped around from the uniforms of the Sardaukar. I think are way better than the uniforms the Sardaukar had in the 84 version, definitely in the 2000 version. Where the still suits is kind of flipped around. I really like the still suits from the 84 film, and in my opinion those are still the best looking versions of a still suit. The new ones, they come close, but I don't like them as much as those 84 ones, where this is the other way around. The Sardaukar suits just were, they looked like almost like radiation suits, and they had like that glowing green visor and stuff, and it didn't look like they had any armor on. It was just like a rubber suit, where this looks more like it's something that would be used better in combat, and it looks like has more of a military look to it. But the other thing that I kind of, now maybe I'm reading too much into it, I don't know, but I'm wondering, because these are Imperial Sardaukar soldiers, and I wonder the color scheme here, where they're pretty much all white with some gray in there. And is this a bit of an homage to the Imperial Stormtroopers from Star Wars? I'm kind of wondering that. And even if you look at the helmet, around the bottom part of the helmet, it kind of vaguely has a little bit of that similarity in shape to the Stormtrooper mask from Star Wars. So I wonder, is there some homage going on there, or some, a bit of a tribute to the Star Wars Stormtrooper Imperial soldiers with the Sardaukar? So I don't know if it is or not, but just something that kind of popped into my head when I watched the movie on the third viewing. And also, I wanted to talk about the Paul's dream sequences he has with Jamis in the film, and a lot of the lines from the book that belong to Liet Kynes' father, when Liet Kynes is dying on top of that pre-spice mass and he's hallucinating and stuff. They actually took some of them and gave him to Jamis in the dream sequences. Now, I found it weird that he would have these visions of Jamis, him and Jamis being really close friends, and obviously that's what's happening in these visions. And then when they finally meet, Jamis just has no use for him and wants to kill him, and they end up fighting. And I found that a little bit confusing, but it kind of, something clicked upon my third viewing when Paul had those dream sequences. And I think it's because when I watched it the first two times, when you look at the dream sequences, almost like I took them too literally and tried to kind of read like past the literal meaning of it, because you can almost hear like a voice in the background that says follow the friend, and that happens while he's interacting with Jamis, or he has these visions of Jamis, and Jamis is acting like a friend to him. And I think it's because the dream is giving him a message that he has to go along with what Jamis says when he meets him in the future, because that's the right path. So when they finally meet, and Jamis wants to fight him in combat, and because he doesn't believe the prophecy, he doesn't believe Paul is the Lisan El Gaib, things like that. So he wants to do battle with Paul. So Paul had that vision, and that was like steered him into the right path, because follow the friend, and then go along with what Jamis wants. Jamis wants to do this will be the right path for you to join the Fremen. On top of that, he does think of Jamis as a friend later on. We'll see in part 2 if they go by the book, because in the book, during Jamis's funeral, everyone has to talk about what they learned from Jamis as a friend, and then Paul refers to him as a friend. I learned Jamis was my friend. I learned from him that when you take a life, you pay for it. That's what he taught me. So that's why now that the visions of Jamis makes more sense to me. It kind of clicked a little bit more, and so I viewed it as a different way. I don't know. That's just my interpretation of it. Maybe I'm all wrong. I have no idea, but that's just kind of how I took it as I viewed the film the third time around. Not only that, I wanted to talk about the soundtrack. Upon watching it the third time, now that the soundtrack is growing on me after seeing it 3 times, I was kind of up in the air about the soundtrack, but that's not uncommon for Hans Zimmer, his soundtracks, because I really didn't like the soundtracks to his Batman films. Like in Batman Begins, when I watched that film, my one complaint was the score, and that was done by Hans Zimmer. And by the time The Dark Knight rolled around, and then as I kind of listened to the score on its own, it did kind of grow on me, and then now I like it. It's grown on me over the years. So Dune is kind of doing the soundtrack for Dune is doing the same thing. Upon the third viewing, I can kind of got to listen to it more and more, so it has grown on me a lot. Especially that opening sequence when the film's as Chani's giving her a voiceover, kind of explaining the events up to this point. That scene where it shows the Harkonnen leaving Dune as their ships start to rise up, kind of got those vocals going on in the background, and it kind of reminds me almost something like a musical cue you would hear from 2001: Space Odyssey or something. But I really like that scene. Just that whole image and the sound that goes with it really works well together. So the soundtrack is growing on me. Now I want to talk about some things about the film that were left out, because watching a third time, there's so much, it seems, that's left out of this first part. And then looking at some of the stills and stuff that we got before the movie came out, like you saw Jessica in that red dress, that was the banquet scene, and you have Paul interacting with Dr. Yui, and there's lots that's left on the cutting room floor. Now, I don't know if they completely shot these scenes or all totally done or not. Now, apparently, Denis Villeneuve doesn't like the idea of a director's cut, because his final cut is usually the vision he wants to keep. But I think this is definitely a movie that needs a director's cut. Because I actually think it would be better, because when you do watch it, if you know a lot about the book, it almost feels like, as good as a movie as it is, upon third viewing, it feels like there's like something missing, like there could be more to this. And the reason I think I feel that way, because there is things missing. There are scenes that especially the banquet scene, when I went on my 5th reading, I read that scene, I said, this would be really cool, like that dueling all the characters have of dialogue, the dueling of words they have with each other, and you can see the underhandedness of the politics and all that. That's something that I really wanted to see on screen. So, they filmed it, because you saw Jessica and Duke Leto together. You saw Jessica with the red dress on and all that, and apparently that was filmed. So that's why I think they really have to do a director's cut, because there's so much more left on the cutting room floor, like they did with Lord of the Rings. So I'd like to see them do it, when it comes out on DVD or when it comes out on streaming, that you have the option, you can watch it in its theatrical release, or you can watch the extended cut. And hopefully Denis Villeneuve changes his mind on that and gives us a director's extended edition, because I think it would actually be a better, if all that was included, it would be longer, obviously, but I think it would actually turn out to be a better movie for hardcore Dune fans. Maybe not the general movie-going audience, because they haven't read the book, they don't know the difference, but as far as Dune fans go, I think it would be a lot better. Because there's a few themes. There's a few scenes I'm surprised that they weren't in there at all. Like, you don't learn the fate of Thufir Hawat. Well, there's a scene of him being captured and things like that. And then Gurney just kind of disappears. Those two characters just kind of disappear after the attack. And when I saw the movie, this was like the second time I saw the movie. I went with some friends, and a friend of mine asked me, well, that character, the Gurney Halleck character, what happened to him? Like, he just disappeared. And so it kind of left them kind of confused. So it would have been nice to have a scene in there showing like how they escaped or how Thufir Hawat got captured. And as far as Thufir Hawat goes, I know there is a scene that does show him getting captured. So again, seeing it for the third time, still a fantastic movie. And this is one, I don't buy a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays anymore, but I used to. But since, you have all these streaming services and stuff, now it's, buying a DVD is not so big of a priority. But this is one movie for sure I'm going to buy on Blu-ray or high definition or whatever it is, will be this film. So that's some of my thoughts upon seeing it a third time. I'd be curious to hear in the comments section how this movie kind of changed over repeat viewings for people. So that's everything I got to say in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you at the next one. I'd like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I appreciate you all in helping this channel grow. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded.